Hi everybody, it's Beth creating lots through power, passion, and fun. And I am working on my presentation that I'm going to be doing at the Garrett B. Gunderson Garrett J. White. I'm working on the presentation I'm putting together for Garrett J. White and Garrett Gunderson's accounting or marketing seminar that they're doing at the end of the thing, because I'm going to be doing that training. So I just decided, I'm not taking no for an answer. So I decided, hey, I'm going to get started on it. So my thoughts is, as I've been working on this, that what I want to do is I want to start it out with just a funny video clip of, an accounting thing. We'll see this accounting stuff and we just started out like this, and then and it's just so boring and everybody just hates it. And it's just funny to me how many people just do not want to do their accounting. Yet when I've had the opportunity to go to so many different seminars this summer with Garrett White, with Garrett J. White, with Garrett B. Gunderson, with Gerald Rogers, with Heather Matter, with Kim Flynn. And in each one of these seminars, part of a successful business strategy, that one of the top one or two items has always been accounting and your accounting functions. And I realized that there are so many people out there that just don't want to do it. That's like the last thing they want to do. They're so excited about getting on their way and doing the work that they want to do, and creating what it is they're creating, and they're absolutely excited because they're in their passion and they're passionate about it. But then they forget all about the accounting part of it. And the accounting part of it is one of the main big pieces in having a successful business. It's about having a healthy relationship with your accounting in your business. Now, no, you don't actually necessarily have to do the work, but accounting affects you not only in your business but also personally, and being personally accountable for your financials. I mean, accounting is your accountability. Accounting is accountability for your results, of your results. It's a numerical. Accounting is a numerical version, a numerical reflection of your results. Is ultimately what accounting is. That's what your balance sheet is. That's what your P&L is. It tells you, without in complete clarity, where you stand financially and if you're making a success or not. And there are several things that are important with your accounting, and it isn't that you can't learn it. I mean, I was hearing Garrett White talking about, we all have this line of skills that they can have, and of skills a person has, and nobody, you decide, you say, okay, I'm gonna choose this skill, and you're gonna hone in on that skill, and you're gonna focus on that skill. But it does not mean that you cannot, it doesn't mean that you can't have this, or doesn't mean that you cannot pick up on any one of these specific skills and sharpen them. I mean, we all have these abilities, and people don't want to do it because they have this huge fear when it comes to money. And of course, as I have studied my belief systems about myself, I've realized that my money issues have definitely all come from my childhood. We all know this. We know that there's these specific areas in our life. There's the financial area, there's our health, there's in our relationships, and there's in our bodies. And that relationship, our belief system that was created through our upbringing and through our ancestries and everything, affects each one of these different sections. And what I'm excited about talking about is the money relationship. I have had my own issues. I've been a single mother for 24 years. I got pregnant when I was in high school and married, and had my son about 2 months after. I had him in September, so I've had him, May, June, July, August, September. So I had him 4 months after I graduated from high school. and married the guy. My husband, my father said, when I told him I was pregnant, I'll never forget, he just said, and he basically just said, when's the wedding? And so I got married, and my ex-husband at the time, basically, I wanted to go back to school, and so I had signed up for school, and he left me. He moved out of the house and left me with this baby, brand new baby, and I was 18 years old. And of course I'm like, oh no, don't leave me. So he came back to the house, moved back in, and then just after the experiences I realized, you know what, I don't want to be with this guy. I am not gonna, if he's gonna make me choose between my education and being in a relationship with me, I just, for whatever reason, decided it just wasn't going to work. And so I moved out of the house. I took my son and I moved into an apartment with my mother. And and that is really where my journey began, in creating a healthy financial relationship in my own personal life. And so my journey has taken me through 24 years, and basically I've had 2 more children since then. One I placed up for adoption when she was born, and then my daughter Casey, who's still home with me, who's home with me now, which I absolutely love that I have that time with her. This whole thing about people, their children leaving the nest, it's just like, no, let's create our community together. Let's create our homes together. Let's create a healthy relationship in our families where our children love to be with us. So I'm very grateful that she's here with me. And so the next part of my story is, here I am, 18 years old, 19 years old, 18 years old. I had a tiny baby, brand new born baby, and actually and what was I going to do? I didn't know what I was going to do. And as I was living with my mother, of course, I've always had this determining bit about me, and so I decided that I was going to I wanted to get some education. That's what I originally wanted to do, was to get some more, further my education, because I got to provide for my son. So I got on welfare, and I was on welfare for everything, government assistance for everything. I was on it for food, for housing, for utilities, for everything. And during this process of being on the welfare system, I had opportunities I took the opportunity and I went to the community college, and I went through different trainings that they offered through the government system. One of them was my favorite, was the 10 key. So I got to take my 10 key class for free. And this has been my livelihood ever since then. And my own perseverance and everything. So, and I did the good girl thing, and dated guys and worked on having a relationship, but then I was raped by one, and that's when my daughter Katie was conceived, and I didn't place her up for adoption because it was a rape. The reason why I placed her up for adoption was because when I was walking down the street one day, I saw this lady and this girl. She probably was about the same age as I was, and I was about 21 years old, living in an apartment. And I saw this girl walking down the street who basically had to be the same age as I was, and I was in the car as I was driving down to go to work one morning. It was early in the morning, and I remember it was all snowy and rainy and gray and cold and gross, and she had this gigantic belly. She was totally pregnant. And then she had a baby on her hip, and then she had another baby she was holding. He was toddling around, and I could just see that she was tired. She was overwhelmed. The children were dirty, their snotty nosed, and at that very moment, I just decided I cannot do this to my children. I can't put my children in a poverty situation, because I was barely making as it was. And the ex-husband, I think at the time I was getting like $100 child support for him, because I was on welfare, so they were taking most of the money, and I was barely making any money to survive. And so I was like, how in the heck am I going to take care of these 2 babies and be responsible? And I mean, looking at this lady, I thought, I cannot do that to myself or to them. We just deserve more. We deserve better. And so I chose to place her in a home with a family that I found out was, I went through a process, and they are all proved, and, and I got to pick the family, and it was very, I just felt like I was doing exactly the right thing. And I'll never forget the moment that I left her at the hospital and I saw her, and I said, I was holding her in my arms, and I was just looking down at her, and she gave me the most just beautiful, precious smile. And right at that moment, I knew it was going to be okay. And I left the hospital, and I'll never forget just the weight that was over my shoulders, that, that weight was taken off my shoulders, that it was gone. This weight was just gone. I just can't even, it was just the most relieving feeling I've ever felt before. And, then 2 years later, I got my Casey. Dated another guy again, and he was absolutely awesome, and we were dating for a couple months, and then didn't have any sex, and then we had sex, and I got pregnant, and I never saw the guy again. And I thought for sure he'd come back to find me, because he gave me money to pay my phone bill at that time. And I'll never forget Casey. I was walking around, and I knew it was a girl. The moment, I just knew she was a girl, and I was so excited. And there was no way I was going to go through that, placing her up again. I was going to keep her, and I really think so I just kept going, basically. And I remember when I was in labor with her, and at the time I was going to the community college, I like community college, and I was a math tutor. I was tutoring the students there in the algebra, and I was in the middle of a tutoring session. I started having contractions, and so we're just like, okay, A equals MC, okay, hold that thought. And the contraction was over, and I'm like, okay, now let's continue on with the lesson. And basically did that for maybe 45 minutes or an hour, because I was like, you know what, I have this huge thing in me that I get to be my word, and I want to follow through with things and do what I'm doing. So anyway, ended up at the hospital, had my baby, and then there I was, and single mom of two. I just have always had this drive in me that I want my children to be proud of me. I want my children to be proud of me, ultimately. Because that's not the feelings that I had about my parents. I was not proud of the parents that I had. I wasn't proud of their actions and what they created for themselves in their lives. I was very shameful of who they were and what they created in life. And that's a whole nother long Oprah story, but